the fifth in a row of our Role Banking Pain Points series webinar. It's a very interesting topic this time as well, very relevant for you if you're working in the financial sector in the Philippines. The title is Challenges in Implementing Digital Solutions for Financial Institutions. And our presenters are going to be to our own Guillaume Danilou from the implementation team lead at the Radian and Jacinto Revilles, our HIA project manager at the Radian. I'm going to let them start now and do the presentation, and then we're going to engage into Q&A as soon as they're done. Please, Guillaume, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nick, for the introduction. So just to share some background about me, I've been living in the Philippines for the past 9 years. I came to the countries to implement the hospital management system of the Makati Medical Center. I then joined the FinTech department of Voyager Innovations, slash PMAIA, which is under PLET. My work there was to partner with commercial, thrift, and rural banks and support their digital transformations by offering them a suite of digital solutions that are fit for them. I finally joined already last year as the implementation team lead, as you mentioned. And as you already know, basically, we are specializing in the implementation of cloud-based core banking systems for rural banks and MFIs. So Orion has been running on a series of webinars during the past month, and the current series is about addressing the pain points of rural banks in the Philippines. In today's presentations, we want to discuss the challenges faced by financial institutions when implementing digital solutions. So we will start by answering the questions, why implementing a digital solution? Then followed by what digital solutions to start with? Then who should you partner with to implement it? And finally, how to implement this solution. Then my colleague Haya will address the typical challenges of an implementation, as well as the new challenges that we are facing now due to the current pandemic. We will then explain why we think this is the best time for you to start your digital transformation. And we'll give you examples of financial institutions that basically would manage to did it during the past 6 months. So first, let's start with the why. Why the need for digitalizations or digital transformation? These are some of the main reasons why financial institutions need to digitalize. So first, basically, it's to improve the user experience. By users, it can refer to your employees or to your clients, depending on the solutions you implement. The objective is to offer an omnichannel banking experience based on a customer-centric model. The second one will be to have a greater efficiencies in processes by eliminating many of the time-consuming manual processes that slow down your entire business. Think of the time your loan officers and managers spend searching for customer files, re-entering data from paper into a spreadsheet, or calculating interest payments by hand. All of this time spent on time-consuming processes increases your operation cost. You also want to introduce financial controls that reduce human errors and the risk of fraud. The next one is to be able to take better decisions based on data. Access to accurate real-time data about your operations and client base give you the information you need to make faster and better decisions that increase your profitability. Next is the cost reductions. There's also another advantage of digitalizations in banks, which is cost savings through the use of new means of payment and cashless transactions. Also, with a cloud-based core banking system, rural banks or MFIs can eliminate some of the largest expenses, such as the purchase, maintenance, and upgrade of their hardware and software. And the next one will be the ability to reach more clients. The time your staff used to waste on administration and manual processes is now used to reach more clients, open new branches, and focus on the core business. With new technologies, you can now reach clients through alternative channels or touchpoints. And finally, it's to help you boost your business continuity plan. The use of a cloud-based technology allows you to reduce your risk of downtimes and mitigate the risk of natural disasters. So these are reasons that were true 3 years ago, as I mentioned there in the titles, but they're still true today. The difference is that there is like an additional urgency that was added last year to the need of digitalizations, because first of the risk of being left behind. Rural banks or MFIs in the Philippines are operating in a highly competitive environment. Personally, I've been attending the RBAP, so the Rural Bank Association's events, as a sponsor during the past 5 years. The messages to the member banks have evolved and is really pushing for them to digitalize. Most of the booths you can see there at the event are now occupied by fintech companies. There's no excuse anymore for not doing it. Competitors are reducing regulatory and operational costs by adopting new technologies, and there is no options but to follow and leapfrog into digital in order to grow, but also to survive. There are also new big players, and which sometimes I mean big dangers. By that I mean that for years, rural banks and MFIs have been the access point to financial services for individuals living in hard-to-reach areas. But today, they are forced to compete with commercial banks that are looking to grow their client base by either acquiring rural banks or directly acquire rural clients. Large commercial banks are moving faster than ever in increasing assets and market share. Digital banks are also being created and are a direct threat as they do not need branches anymore to operate and can capture clients regardless of their location. Competition from startups, tech giants, and industries outside of banking, along with increased regulations, are forcing you to accelerate your digital reinvention in order to avoid losing clients. And if there was not enough reasons for you actually to digitalize, 2020 brought a pandemic that reshuffled the way business is done and how people move and transact. Digitalization is now more than ever needed in order to face these new challenges, including the decrease in the face-to-face interaction with your clients. It is now a must to offer a contactless access to information and services. By that, I mean that clients are beginning to demand SMS messaging services and an access to digital financial services to manage your personal accounts without having to travel to a branch. Your staff also need to be able to access the banking system remotely, so that work will not stop whenever they have to work from home. Basically, this is branchless banking that allows the traditional banks to extend the networks of branches and services in a cost-efficient manner through authorized agents. So, I hope I gave you enough reasons for you to understand why there's a need to start your digital transformation journey now, if you haven't done it yet. The next question is basically it's who to choose, what to choose for as the first digital solutions that you should be starting with. When you think about digital solutions, you will likely think about the most popular ones like mobile banking, which consists in providing a mobile app for your clients to perform basic banking operations remotely, payment channels to allow your clients to pay for their loans or bills digitally or from authorized agents, credit scoring, so which gives you a real-time assessment on how likely it is that a borrower will make payments on the money he or she borrows. It can even now be based on the client's utility bills or social media behaviors and activity. Entering fund transfers. So now you can actually offer InstaPay and PesoNet to your services to allow instant entering transactions with other financial institutions. And there are other ones that are constantly being mentioned, such you know them as KYC, biometrics, blockchain, business intelligence, AI. These solutions are definitely adding value to your business. But first, you have to define priorities, and there's something essential that is missing here. Having a robust and modern core banking system is crucial in order to be able to plug in all these solutions we mentioned in the previous slide. The core banking system is the foundations of your digital transformation. You cannot run these digital solutions on an old legacy core banking system, which can provide you with centralized and real-time data or efficient digital operations. As an analogy, it would be like putting the frame of a Ferrari on top of the engine of a tractor. It will definitely not work as expected, and it will also surely not fit. So, because one of the main business benefits of a modern core banking system is the ability to use APIs to connect with external digital financial services, alternative delivery channels, or third-party providers. Anything that can secure uninterrupted cash flow for your institutions through the means of loan repayments, deposit, bill payments, bank transactions, or remittances. Make sure that the core banking system you choose is future-proof and regularly updated with new features and enhancements. With the appropriate core banking system in place, your financial institutions will steadily grow, reach more clients, and serve them better. And selecting the right partner is frequently the most abused part of any project. While it is evident, so basically what is evident that you actually need, one second, sorry, I have technical issues. Okay. So what's evident that the decision has an enormous implications. Frequently, it is rushed and it is not given the resource they deserve by the significance of the work. First, do not make it about pricing. So of course, the cheaper the investment, the less risk you are taking. but eventually the consequences of that decisions will end up showing up. The implementation of process is a tedious one. You don't want to have to do it again in a year time. And technology providers come in all shapes and sizes, a lot of them not being very transparent with cost and hidden pitfalls. Many low-cost technology providers, which claims that they can take you to cloud systems, rely on AWS, with the corresponding additional cost for the Amazon IT infrastructure and the leasing and hosting. Secondly, you need a reliable and trusted partner. One with experience, a partner that can guide you through the rough times, advise and hold your hands through the implementation process, and give you advisory on digital change management and strategy. Choose a partner that will not be shy about organizing reference visits or call with one of the existing customers. Choose a partner that is willing to understand your requirements and pain points, confirm the product fit, build a business case to help you to define goals, and work with you towards them. And finally, make sure that the partner and the solution you choose have already been audited and approved by the BSP. And in the case of a core banking system, make sure that it can automatically generate regulatory reports. And the final slide I will want to talk about, it's about how. I would like basically to present to you what are the different phases of an implementation as we do it in Aurelian. I'm sure some of you are already familiar with them. For an implementation to be successful, you have to make sure that the solution provider has a clear and documented implementation process and follow project management methodologies and framework. You cannot rush it or skip steps because it will affect the quality of the project deliveries. So first, we start with the initiation and analysis phase, where we review the business processes and operations of the different departments. Then we identify which areas of your business and which processes can be improved and how, using global best practice. Finally, we include the result of an analysis and assessment in the project scope document, along with the final project plan, which you need to sign off before you can proceed with the project. Next will be setting up the platform based on your business needs. We will be starting the migration of the data to the platform. The next step will be to develop a training plan to meet the needs of your organizations and train a group of staff on site so they can train others, eventually the end users. You will then perform a detailed testing to validate the setup and the data. Finally, we'll proceed with the migration of all your branches, which can follow a big bang strategy, meaning that all your branches will be rolled out at the same times, or it can also be by batches. And once the implementation is completed, the customer support team will take over the projects. And in parallel with the implementation, we'll support you in getting the approval of BSP, which is a requirement before going live. So this is the end of my presentations. I hope that you learn a bit on why it is essential that you start your digital transformations now and how to make the right choices on which digital solutions to implement and which partner to work with. So I will leave it now to Haya Revilles, project managers at Aurelian, who is here to talk about the challenges of implementing digital solutions. Haya, please.
Thank you, Guy. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Haya Villas, currently a project manager in Aurelian, and before joining Aurelian, I worked in microfinance institutions in the last 10 years. Now allow me to share the typical challenges of an implementation and how we should mitigate these challenges. Implementing a new core banking platform is always challenging. Usually, success depends on initial clarity and understanding of the objective, why the organization is going through the change. You must know what matters and what is the need you are addressing. Along the way, know what is less important and issues that should not affect the whole process of implementation. Acknowledging these challenges, one must prepare in banking the change. First challenge of implementation is failing to make a compelling case for change or managing the change across organization. In implementing core banking platform, it is important that you involve the employees to get their buy-in and support. Never ignore current organizational culture as this will drive people to embrace the change. Recognize that the real change happens at the bottom of the organization, and in most cases, operations people are the highly affected. And lastly, deal resistance proactively. Second challenge is the absence of executive sponsorship. In the last 2 years of managing implementation to various financial institutions, I have seen the impact of lack of executive sponsorship. In most cases, these are the implementations that failed or delayed projects. Following are the characteristics of an implementation that does not have executive sponsorship. First, inability to make quick decisions on issues of the project. Lack of collaboration across different departments. Poor vendor management and relationship, and usually ignores implementation risk. I encountered a project that the president of a rural bank is highly engaged in all phases of the project to the point of even joining the end user training. Her reason of doing it was she has to experience it herself. So her people will highly engage in the project. Third challenge is lack of strong project management. Always remember that implementation is a project and thus has an end and start date with specific deadlines for each phase. A critical factor is having a strong project management, not just on the vendor side, but most especially on your side. Carefully choosing the right team members and having dedicated and committed people for the project is highly recommended. I have worked with a big MFI who allotted almost 30 to 40 people from different departments with around 15 fully dedicated people for the project. They were uprooted from their normal work so they could focus and support the project. People who were more than willing to perform an extra mile and extend work hours just to accomplish the goal. That project team structure resulted to a very successful implementation. Remember, the size of your project team largely depends on how much work needed to be accomplished while doing the implementation. Another important factor for a strong project management is being able to pick the right implementation approach, especially a well-thought rollout or a migration plan. Will it be a batch migration or a big bang? Whether it's one way or the other, you must prepare resources needed. Also, never underestimate the value of adequate communication. Never forget to establish routine of project status updating within your entire team and even with the vendor. Lastly, data has been the common challenge across different financial institutions. You must prepare and plan well the needed data for migration and make sure that before embarking the implementation, data needed is available and in good quality. Involve someone from your team that has the full knowledge of your data. I have customers that took them almost 2 to 3 months to prepare and clean the data needed for migration as it was done manually. These resulted to a longer time in migration and thus delayed the implementation. On the other hand, a large customer was able to provide needed data for a district with almost 21 branches in less than 2 days because they established their own data team who are highly skilled and knowledgeable of the data. Aside from these common challenges of implementation, we also encountered new challenges because of the current pandemic. However, we were able to quickly adapt and resolve these issues. These are the new challenges. Guy, next slide, please. One is no on-site visit. There are activities of the project that are done normally on-site, like champion or end users training. But because of the lockdown, we are not able to visit customers. Trainings now were mostly handled through online. We at Oradian have an online training platform, Oradian Academy, which supported us doing the training remotely. We use Skype and Zoom for project status meetings and other form of messaging to quickly support our customers. Also, branch support after migration is restricted to phone calls. This resulted to delay data catch-up. But the importance of having dedicated and committed project champions can definitely resolve this challenge. Second is staff availability. This might be one of the tougher daily challenges for all of us now. You have a lot of branch people on payroll, most of them not being able to come to their workplace at least full-time because of a skeletal workforce, shortened working hours, complete or even restricted movement between branches. Institutions experience business loss that force them to rethink and shrink the human resources. We observe customers did struggle adjusting to the new norm of working, which is working from home, but they got better and better at it every day. This is also where a cloud-based digital solution would play an important role. Third is infrastructure. For many financial institutions today, having physical servers in their branches or head office is a huge burden. This reality brings a few headaches as there is a need to constantly support the remote locations. Support from IT team nowadays has been extremely difficult due to COVID-19 lockdowns. There is also difficulties in buying hardware, installing software, or set up and managing your own data centers. With this, you should choose a cloud-based solution. All you need to worry about is ensuring internet connectivity for your offices and branches. You don't need to maintain hardware. Access, installation, and configuration can be done remotely. As Chuchi Huna shared, BSP Deputy Director said, we cannot deny the compelling advantages of moving to the cloud. That is reduced cost, greater flexibility and scalability, increased mobility, and faster deployment. Fourth challenge during pandemic is integration. Integration is an efficient way to improve your service, product offering, and rates, enabling you to differentiate your business in markets with increasing competition and reduced costs for your clients. You might integrate to an accounting system, mobile banking, credit scoring, messaging, and others. Integration with other third-party solutions can be done remotely with an open API. You just have to make sure that the core banking support it and capable of doing so. I work with a customer doing core banking implementation and at the same time embarking integration to various systems such as accounting system, cash management system, and credit scoring. While this is doable, you must also be careful and properly plan it, as it entails a lot of resources and commitment. Lastly, grace period. As we all know, for Philippines, BSP mandated grace periods on loans during the start of the pandemic. Migrated loans were rescheduled by giving a grace period for maximum of 90 days. This was never a situation before. Grace period might happen again, especially for a calamity-prone country. Thus, you need a core banking system provider that can support it. A core banking system that supports product changes to adapt to a new regulatory requirements like payments holidays and loan rescheduling. Thanks to emergency relief module of InstaFin or Radian's core banking system that did the check of managing declared grace period for our customers. So the question now is, why now is the best time for it? With what we are experiencing now, having a cloud-based core banking system is not anymore a nice to have, but a must have. In the past months, we observed that few of our customers are pushing for faster onboarding or implementation due to the few reasons. One, need to remotely access their data from home and get real-time reporting. Faster and easier implementation at this time as there are lesser transactions. Prepare and be ready for the unknown business environment in the long term. And clients now are demanding for digital and contactless products and services. Digital adoption has accelerated because of the pandemic. If you don't provide that to them, they will go to the competition. With above reasons, you don't need to wait for the pandemic to be over to start your digital transformation. We do not know what the future holds, so decide, and the right time to do it is now. Over the last 3 years, next slide, 50 institutions in the Philippines decided to embark digital transformation journey, and Oradian is proud to have partnered with them. We assisted their migration to over 1,500 branches. And this journey also improves our know-how that allowed us to add more value for each customer for a quicker and successful implementation. And even amidst the pandemic, we rolled out an MFI with over 200 branches in 2 months. We also have 5 to 6 rural banks that are about to go live in the next 2 months. And these MFI and rural banks went through the challenges of working from home, skeletal workforce, reduced office hours, having to wear the PPE suits, and even experience having positive cases in their staff. But it didn't stop them for completing their implementation. Therefore, if they did it, you can also do it. We hope that this presentation will help you in making the decision to start your own digital transformation journey. Thank you, and now time for some questions.